people who did this call themselves Muslims, are Muslims, and it makes people think, who aren't Muslim especially, this is what they're about, and they're out to get the rest of us. What is the space between?
I understand there's denial all round. Denial on the part of Islam, that Islamism emerges from within us. You're right. Islamists are Muslims. Denial that Islam is not monolithic. We are a huge, diverse population, most of whom do not subscribe to this ideology. And denial that there is actually a growing, unprecedented hatred directed at Muslims. Forget what's happening in the United States with these governors, which is unimaginably un-American, in my opinion, but also that the Syrian refugee has become the amorphous shape, the embodiment of anti-Muslim sentiment. These people have turned into and merged with the idea of the attackers that committed these atrocities here in France. That shows a lack of nuance all around, which is very dangerous. That we're seeing it coming out of the lips of high-level politicians in the United States only feeds into one beneficiary, and that's Islamists themselves. Islamists benefit on the idea that Muslims are under siege, that the West has a war on us, that secularism is really a Zionist conspiracy. So when we have US governors saying, no Muslims allowed in, no Syrian Muslims allowed in, that absolutely ignites that in a way that's far more dangerous. I think ISIS could not have imagined that kind of incendiary repercussion from even these huge events. It's astonishing.
So what is the answer? I mean, we've heard here in Paris how insulated the Muslim community is. There's not a lot of assimilation. What is the answer?
Exactly. The US is so tremendous at allowing people to have their own identities and encompassing them in our society. Ghettoization and citizenship only in document, not in spirit, is very prevalent, at least in Britain and France, that I've seen, and other Western European. One is giving people full embodiment of citizenship in whatever way we can. But the other is empowering civil Islam. This issue of radical Islamism or Islamist terrorism is actually a 10-century-old tension between civil Islam, Sufism, the Islam that existed in Kosovo before the war, other kinds of pluralistic Islam, and the imposition of orthodoxy, which began with a rejection of that thought, rejection of Islamist rationalists, and now into the fact that Islamists that commit these attacks that have happened in Paris define every single one of us, 1.7 billion, in the eyes of the onlookers. That's deadly. That's much more dangerous than Islamism itself.
How much of this is a war for the soul of Islam, for Muslims like yourself to take back your faith from those who are defining it now as a perversion?
I think it's absolutely a battle inside Islam. And whether we have a soul left or not, I believe we have. But it is being engulfed and parasitized by Islamism. It's almost immaterial how many Islamists there are. And remember, Islamists can be violent, as we've seen here in Paris twice this year or several times this year, and non-violent, which gives the engine, the ideological basis for this violence. It's almost immaterial that they are a numerical minority, which they are. They enslave millions of Muslims around the world. Iran is an Islamist so-called democracy, one that the United States has chosen to partner with. Pakistan is already corrupted by Islamism in its democracy, so hundreds of millions of Muslims are subjugated by it already. But yes, this is a violent upheaval inside Islam that's pulling the external world into it.